Welcome to the second season of Automation Caffeine, your dose of invigorating business automation tips packed as interesting anecdotes and weird questions. We have a different guest every episode from various industries, countries, and backgrounds for a half-hour online chat over coffee. My name is Jesse Myers. I'm co-founder of Trigger, serial entrepreneur, and above all, I'm a coffee snob. Today, I am joined by Alexandre Yurchak. He's the head of the Ukrainian Cluster Alliance and the CEO of the Association for Industrial Automation of Ukraine. Hi, Alexander.
Hi, Jesse.
Hey, welcome. As you know, we always start with a three-word intro for our guests. So how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Yeah, I'm a Ukrainian automation enthusiast.
That sounds awesome. To put a little bit more context to it, like you have been working in sort of the manufacturing industry for a long time. You've had a past in France and in other countries. So what I wanted to ask you as to start off with is, what are, in your experience, currently some of the major challenges for manufacturing companies across Europe?
Yeah, in fact, industry automation market in Europe is a really big market. It's about 50 billion euro, and
wow.
And typically it's like any market of industrial high tech. It's in high evolution, high dynamics. Average growth rate is about 7% per year, but it was a little bit went down during COVID and today during the war in Ukraine. And of course, this market really depends on many factors. Some of them are critical. For example, during COVID, we had a big disruption in supply chain linked mainly with some delay in microelectronic dependence on Asian manufacturing. So it was not just an industrial automation market, but we are really very sensible for this. And then a war in Ukraine. For example, our customer and user industrial enterprise, the delivery time for that was, let's say, 6-8 months, even more, because the main supplier in Europe, the main leader are the same, like in Germany, Siemens, or in Ukraine, they dominate the market. And typically they subcontract some manufacturing in Taiwan, in China, in many of the countries. So there was really deficit of microelectronic products, and everybody felt that. Another challenge is about let's say accelerated digitalization, automation, digitalization. There is a famous trend of Industry 4.0, Industrial Revolution, and so on. And Europe a bit lagging behind of Asian manufacturer or provider and the US. That's why how to speed up, how to accelerate in the field of industrial automation with new technology like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and additive technology, and many other is really big challenge for many manufacturers. Third one, it could be labor shortage and also skill gap. Because market is developing quite quickly. We should replace technology, and this market, typically manufacturing, not just industrial automation, but any segment industrial manufacturing, they struggle a bit from aging of workforce, and young people don't want to go to manufacturing. This is common phenomena for every country in Europe. Also, it's like challenge. So-called twin transition. It means digital and green. Typically, guys working in industrial automation, they mainly specialize in automation product, in digital product, and they are a little bit far from, greening of value chain, supply chain, technology. Typically, these are like two different providers. So is a challenge how to combine it, because we cannot provide green technology without digital. Typically, it's very combined. And of course, energy costs, because war in Ukraine provoked this stopping of delivery of Russian gas and so on. So you can judge on, let's say, household, the price were increased. Yes, maybe 5 main challenges.
You mentioned that the delivery times were 6 to 8 months, and what was it before? Like when sort of the supply chains
It was
were
much
optimal?
hot in Ukraine, let's say, and of course there was some stock for the more popular product, but typically average time was 3-4 months. Now it looks like it come back, but there is in many product line is still very sensible. It can be up to the same, up to 18 more months.
Okay.
Today it is better.
And is that does that mean that more stock because of that? Because I would like that would be my first reaction. I would be like, if I would manage that, I would just have more stock so I can sort of catch these ups and downs.
They try, but let's say, of course, we have in our country we have distributor, we have also this practice to deliver from stock. But business of industrial automation is mainly linked to project realization, big project, for example, modernization of building, new plant, and typically it's enough difficult to provide list of product which should be on the stock, because every product is different.
Yeah, and then obviously you can't do stock. So then just your supply is just so your supply basically then ends up being the sum of all the parts that you can get and how quickly you can get those before you can start actually manufacturing your bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Causing the delays. And I also I read this article. Currently, Volkswagen has that problem. You mentioned the energy prices. What are some of the ways that that companies try to work around the higher energy prices? Because obviously the processes take a lot of energy, and I don't see many opportunities to easily navigate away from that. Or are there ones that maybe I'm not aware of?
Yeah, of course. Industrial automation guys, they deal with let's say so-called segment of energy efficiency. They provide some solution helping to optimize energy consumptions, provide some new algorithm. For example, today in Ukraine is very popular. We have several members in our association which provide a solution how to forecast energy consumption, electricity, and so far to optimize. But generally speaking, it's a bit different segment, because today, let's say, we are talking more about some alternatives of energy, like hydrogen, like solar, wind, and Ukraine, by the way, because our energy sector was to high extent destroyed by Russian attacks, and before, let's say, even before the war, we had in the balance of our energy, we had a lot of coal station, so traditional fossil sourced energy source. But today we must go to green energy, to alternative source, like I mentioned it, hydrogen, wind, solar, because there is no way our let's say big power station based on the coal are destroyed. So here the role of automation is rather low, because it's capital investment into new energy facility, utilities. But there is challenge also for automation, because we are talking about completely decentralized autonomous energy system, and where the role of automation, high technology, however, is high, because it should be really optimized. We are talking about microgrid, and there are some specific challenge in this segment.
And do you then, with a microgrid, is that the system that, from what I see, sort of here I'm from the Netherlands, obviously. So in the countries around where we are, what we see is a lot of focus on when there's wind, you have low energy prices. You want to start your machines at those times when energy is available. When there's no energy available, you might want to stop machines to avoid paying the higher prices. Is that sort of the challenges that you're talking about? What are challenges with those microgrid solutions?
Yeah. There are many challenges in microgrid solution. In Ukraine, the biggest one in how to ensure, let's say, so-called maneuver power, it means when you don't have solar, you don't have wind. Okay, you have nuclear station. You can provide some, power from nuclear station, but somehow you have a peak of consumptions, and you have somehow to compensate them. And that's why we use a lot today some gas turbine station, power station. And typically it's not so easy question, because for, let's say, power more than 30, 50 megawatt, you should provide not just equipment, but you should project with design, with a lot of engineering and so on. It takes a lot of effort, so it's not easy. And today, for example, in many Ukrainian cities, we have already delivered power station of this power for exactly for municipal sector, for utilities, but they do not work because there was no engineering. so no engineering project work have been done, and it's not enough. So it's really complicated, to go completely to decentralized alternative energy source.
That makes sense. I think it's sort of the even without the situation that Ukraine is in, even if you don't have the problem with the energy infrastructure being attacked, if you look at sort of the transition from a standard system that we have now, where we go like, oh, we have these reservations on, like, you have so many megawatts, and we'll have a reservation and you can use that, but then you use maybe 20-30% of that, but you buy the peak, which is a super inefficient system, of course. So the microgrids are indeed interesting, but I hear a lot of trouble also about implementing them. Not even just the engineering side of it, but just the sheer scale of energy that we have to replace with different systems is huge. Because do you have any idea how much the total in Ukraine, for example, is? You said 50 billion in terms of euros, but how much in Europe? But how much is like the energy consumption? Do you know that? Because those are probably some staggering numbers.
No, by heart, I don't remember the exact number, but it's today. Let's say it depends, but today we don't have blackout in city. But typically, let's say 2 weeks ago, we had some temporary blackout. It's typically planned by schedule, but you can have let's say 3, 4, up to 6 hour blackout without any electricity in city, and so on.
And does that situation drive a lot of innovation in that area? Because I can imagine that having that as a given, that there are these blackouts, that, and even if they're planned, they're still probably not planned to the level where manufacturing companies go like, oh, well, that's convenient. So I can assume that things like maybe 50 megawatts is a lot, but maybe battery systems or other things do get sort of adopted maybe faster because of this, or is that a hard guess to make there?
Yeah, exactly. It typically generates a high demand for product, maybe not so much innovative, but like typical solar station. For example, myself, I had to install some solar panel on my house in the country. Yes, because I want to be autonomous. So if it's innovation, so we can say that today 100,000 of Ukrainian went to this, say, new technology just because there is no other solution. You have to install something to be autonomous in energy consumption.
Yes.
But talking about some really innovative solution in energy generation, distribution, consumption, it's not so easy question. It demands some, let's say, some efforts at the level of typical instrument like accelerator, some support from state, and so on. So we have growth of startup in this, of course, in this domain. But generally speaking, the market is still driven by big company, big operator, and classical solution, traditional solutions. The question is rather how to manage all this challenge with, balancing energy consumption and so on.
Clear. Thanks for the insights on this. This season, we on Automation Caffeine, we started with a new thing that we have. We have a random uneasy question, and Alexander, you're our first happy guinea pig. So we'll see what our wheel of unfortune will give you. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a painful truth about your industry.
Yeah, good question. So I cannot talk about every country in Europe, but regarding Ukraine, the painful truth maybe about our industrial automation market, about our industry, is that maybe we are not enough proactive. We cannot face main challenges and cannot take this leadership level which is needed today for our country. It's really painful for me, for our industry, for many of that, because we have another example. Many Ukrainian industry and many Ukrainian, we have proud of our IT sector. So IT guys are much proactive, and they transformed this industry, that they became one of the main exporters in Ukraine, and they took a big part, about 6 or 7% in a GDP, and they grows even during war. They continue maybe smaller, but grows. It's not the case of industrial automation, because however, we are part of manufacturing rather, and typically to make carrier and to influence on end user and big bosses. For automation guys, it's not so easy, because typically CEO of big company in manufacturing, they are either they comes from process technology, or they come from finance or general management and so on. So automation guys, they stay always at the mid-level management, and typically it's difficult for them to form some really decision making, some strong decision, and really to build some leadership agenda for let's say for automation, digitalization. Typically they are second role. This is one reason, but another one is really low productivity of leading actor on our market, like international vendor, because our market dominated by big international brand, European brand like Siemens, Schneider Electric. So it's also question maybe some low productivity from leader of this organization in my country. But we try to change. Today we have really huge challenges in automation connected to lack of workforce, shortage of workforce. It's also demographic crisis. So my hope is that we can face this challenge, and we really can take leadership in this process.
Clear, thanks. What you already mentioned, obviously, people are in Ukraine are mobilized. A lot of people have, especially women, have obviously left the country, and people do want to come back, but I guess when it's safe, whatever sort of definition they give to that. And given that situation, I guess that leads to obviously extra labor shortage. You already described the growing age, the average age in the sector. What are, however, some of the major opportunities that maybe even despite this situation are there for Ukrainian manufacturing companies to expand into the rest of Europe, and vice versa, maybe for European companies to expand or work together with Ukraine with Ukraine?
Yeah, good question. In fact, for Ukrainian companies, there are many opportunity today in Europe. Well, our audience, you should know that before the war, big war, we call it big war, because in fact the war in Ukraine started 10 years ago, not 3 years ago, but 10 years ago. Yeah, Russian aggression started in 2014. So, but in spite of this fact, many Ukrainian companies still continue to to make business with Russia, with Central Asia, and so on. So it was about, in many industry, it was about 20-30% of our export, or some import export. But 3 years ago, it was completely stopped. So it was really, for a Ukrainian company, it was huge disruption in value chain, in their supply chain. And of course, we turn to the west, to the Western Europe today. I don't know, maybe more than half of our export, especially manufacturing, it goes to Europe. So this is also a big opportunity, because even if we take our diaspora on this migration, temporary or maybe not temporary, but many Ukrainian appeared in Europe, and it's like a new challenge for us to increase our presence, to increase our connection. And so biggest opportunity for us, and how to be integrated into European value supply chain, and especially for us, like industrial high tech, how to be integrated into innovative ecosystem. Because what is good in Europe is that there are a lot of different kind of grant program, support of innovator, and so on. So today we increase step by step. If I take Ukrainian Cluster Alliance or our association, we have today, let's say, in 3-5 times more partner, more deals, more some businesses, business connection in Europe than before the war. So we try to react on this opportunity, and it is the same case for our scientists, for many businesses. And we see this increasing of presence of our business, especially neighbors country like Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, and so on. There is today much more Ukrainian business. Even many businesses completely leave Ukraine and open even manufacturing facilities. There are many such cases. It's not good for Ukraine, but for the reason of security, safety, many owners prefer to completely relocate the enterprise to some safe country, typically neighbors country. Regarding opportunity for European partner in Ukraine, I would mention, like, number one, it's our recovery program. Of course, it will start after the war, but the volume is really huge. We are talking about its calculation or figures from World Bank. It's about 500 billion euro. It's estimated recovery market. It concern of many industries, not just, of course, construction, because we should reconstruct, rebuild our destroyed city, villages, and on the east, on the south. But it's also huge. There will be huge demand for energy, utility, and of course new plant, because we cannot, let's say, bring all materials or product from Western country. It will be huge investment also in manufacturing plant. For example, there are some expert group at the level of government. They calculated that Ukraine should build 500 new plant. So it will really
that is a large amount of plants. Yes.
Exactly. So we start to prepare to that. That's why what is important is, I think this is opportunity for our European partner, Western partner, to prepare this project, because investment will go with, this project should be well prepared, because every investor, they ask for a return of investment. It means that all this project feasibility study, regardless if it's manufacturing plan or new building or some energy facility, they should be well prepared with good business plan, feasibility study, and so on. So that's why today we work a lot with our neighbors country, but also this collaboration start with Western Europe, about regarding this project. They are different, as I mentioned it. In Ukrainian Cluster Alliance, we have a cluster group by sector in agri-food, in medical healthcare, construction, what else? Industrial engineering, of course, where our association is very active, and so on. And typically in each this resource center, we prepare with partners some project. We typically we promote this project at the level of government, international organization. So this is our, let's say, preparation to recovery. But of course, we should survive today. That's why even today, regardless of big recovery, we have still open project in many fields. Typically, it's we're talking about so-called critical industry like infrastructure, utility, where we should restore something quickly, or we should ensure some safety. And of course, this is sector of dual-use technology in Miltech. It's already very active. It's grows every year. For example, for today, we have more than 600 manufacturers of drone.
Yeah.
Even before the war, we counted them maybe several tens, but not 100. Yeah, so it grew by times. And in this sector, we have really strong support from the state. And of course, we are very open for collaboration. So it's opportunity for every company in Europe who works in dual use or Miltech sectors.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And how do companies, if they feel that maybe they can act on one of these opportunities, how would they go about it? What would be a first step that they can take to, as you said, like do a feasibility study and check out if this is something that they could actually do? How would you approach that?
Yeah, typically we organize processes step by step from the first acknowledge, first meeting where we can acknowledge each other, make some knowledge about product, about solution, and from our side, typically we communicate about some demand from end user side or from customers, and then we organize some. It's better to, because online it doesn't work every time. That's why we organize a lot of business mission. For example, last year, we organized almost every 2 months we go to some country to talk, to find business partner and to talk about possible project. So typically, like in any B2B, in industrial automation as well as engineering, it works mainly offline. So people should sit together and to really speak about some potential collaboration. So this is mainly role as well of organization like ours, because it's in Ukraine Cluster Alliance. We have some project office which work a lot with international partner, and typically we organize such kind of business exchange, business mission, typically in close collaboration with embassy, with some international organization, because there is question of cost of this mission of organization. For example, next month we go to with such business mission to Brno, to Czech Republic, then maybe for Norway to Oslo. So it's typical like combining of several countries to cover and to find some partner.
Yeah, that's a good tip. So basically, if people want to really get started, I would suggest to just check out the Ukrainian Cluster Alliance and keep following them, because that is probably the easiest way into it.
Yeah, just another solution you can go, because for guys like you, Jesse, we have really a big event also in Ukraine. It's a bit. It can be strange for somebody for security, safety reason, but for example, in 2 weeks we'll have the biggest IT event in Lviv. It's called Lviv IT Arena, which typically gather 2,000 people from whole Europe.
Wow.
From East. It's one of the biggest IT manifestation in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And many people come in spite of some security issue, but they come.
Yeah,
Lviv
is, for those listeners who don't know where Lviv is, it's in the far west of Ukraine. I've actually been. It's a really nice city. Yeah, that's cool. It's also really good that these things are still organized. So it's good to hear that like about 2,000 people will be attending that. That's very interesting. That's all the questions that I have, but I did see that we already had some questions coming in from an audience. So we're going to do a couple of questions that we had. I think that this one is a good one to start with. Can you share an early career experience that shaped your path in automation? I always like that. People that ask about sort of how you get started. What was that? Yeah, can you share one?
My past in automation.
Yeah, so just an experience, I guess,
Okay.
from your early career that you
Okay.
that sort of made you go on this
Yeah.
path that you've done.
I started in the mid '90s, like automation engineer, and it was engineering company, work in agri-food. And then I was invited to the position of product manager in Schneider Electric, Schneider Automation. It was like one of the first vendor in Ukraine on the Ukrainian market. So I made my career in automation guys, mainly in Schneider. So I was responsible for business development in Schneider Automation for Southern Eastern Europe. I worked three years in France. Then I had a contract in Russia. I was responsible for development Russian market system integration in industrial automation. Then I came back to Ukraine and I worked on top position in Ukrainian engineering company more than 3 years. Yeah, it was also very linked to automation. We, let's say, built turnkey project, yeah, with completely automated, the same agri-food, energy sector, different one. And then I work as well in a big machine building plant as a position of commercial director. It was one of the biggest Ukrainian manufacturer, also with oil and gas, in oil and gas sector. And let's say 12 years ago, I switched it completely to some community management. I organized the first this association, Automation Ukraine, which unite today about 70 company. But we are also leader of National Industry 4.0 movement, which unite more than 300 enterprise. So typically, our members they work in every sectors, and we know very well market of local system integrator, developers, end users. So yeah.
Cool. That maybe you can then with that knowledge of all these things combined answer this question by Anton, who asks, we know that wind farms are being built in the western part of Ukraine. What interesting energy projects in the near future can bring energy security to Ukraine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hi Anton. Yeah, I think we are familiar. So interesting energy project. I'm not sure is this question for me, but well, I'm I'm today like expert. So energy security. So the simplest we know the answer. It's import, just import. But talking about energy security, of course, I think it's collaboration with our Western partner how to bring, how to build this power station in the city, because it will be number one problem this winter if we can provide the heat as electricity to the citizen. Well, mainly it's gas turbine station, but we really need some aid, some help how to launch them, because it's not enough to buy equipment or just to deliver equipment. How to launch, how to make complete engineering commissioning is quite is the biggest challenge today. Is the nearest our challenges, yeah, how to ensure this delivery of heat energy in our city. Regarding the next period, let's say next year and further, it's open question. It's a really hard question, because there is no consensus at the level of our ministry and energy community. Everybody talks, about different kind of power station of energy source we should develop. And of course, if we are talking about hydrogen, which is one of the most popular in Europe. In Ukraine, we don't have such, self-developed technology, and maybe it can be this trend how to set up a hydrogen station in Ukraine, where we're really very dependent on our Western partner. But it's question. It should be somehow question and decision from central government, and at least at the level of coordination. Because it's difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine that there's not a specific sort of strategy right now yet for that for the long term. We have another question by Thijs, which is the following. What advice would you give to someone new to industrial automation?
Someone new,
Yeah.
it means like engineer or like...
Let's in general, I don't know, mate. Let's say that someone is starting sort of their career in industrial automation. Do you have any tips for them?
Yeah. Well, I would advise to choose good company, because there are many players on the market. You can go like me to develop your career in big automation vendor. Typically, this position it can be engineer, but they have a lot of stuff in marketing, sales. So it depends how you want to build your career, but I would advise to start with engineer, because you cannot be good sales guy or marketing guys without trying, without really mastering some automation techniques. So myself, I started like engineer, and I spent at least 3-4 years, in the field. So it's not like IT guys. Sitting in the offices. You should go in the field. It's really many business trips to the plant, to manufacturing, spending a lot of time with customer, in workshop, with equipment. But equally, it helps a lot to master your environment, to know the field, to know end user, their needs, to feel them. Then, of course, it depends. But if you have this base, and typically, what our system integrator or engineering company says, it's not enough to be graduated student. Typically, it takes maybe 1 year really to master your specialization, because it can be different. You can work at the level of devices, so-called field devices like actuators, sensors. Or you can be programmer and work as a level of automation control systems. It's automation controller, SCADA, so software as well, communication network, and so on. Or you can go even industrial IT level. It's system like ERP, manufacturing execution system, and so on. So there are different levels. You can specialize in manufacturing, but it's really very interesting. It's typically people who if you go to right company and you have good salary, good condition, good support from management, typically there is almost no leaks of talent from such companies. They stay for and they do career for years, because these people are also very well paid. There is, especially in Ukraine, it's a bit different, but in Western Europe there is no big difference between automation guy and IT guys. So both are, let's say, high tech, and you can make career in both sector.
Cool. We have time for one more question, and on that topic of you're sort of indicating that it's more high tech these days, and this question is interesting. I think, what are the biggest challenges manufacturers face when transitioning to smart factories? And for those that might not exactly know what smart factories, basically it's like the more sensors are being used, there's just more data and process around that being used in factories than let's say in the time of Ford, where we had a lot of people on a conveyor belt putting a car together.
Yeah, very good question. Typically, we have the biggest challenge with organization culture. because all this notion about industrial revolution, digital transformation, they appeal to really internal change in the organization. And typically manufacturing enterprise, they somehow conservative because they build processes during years to be stable, to ensure good quality, good productivity with traditional automation technology. Automation is not new for manufacturing. Mass automation started, especially in automotive industry. It started, let's say, 50 years ago. First controller, first software, first automation system. So it's not new. Today we are talking about digital transformation. It means that, of course, about new technology, like I mentioned it, additive manufacturing, 3D or artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, blockchain, and so on, so on. So, but it's not even question about this new technology. It's rather a question and issue how to increase their penetration into and to be more innovative in experiment, because we don't know, even in Europe there are just few, maybe not so many. In each country it's up to 10, 20 example when we can talk about completely automated and transformed enterprise, which can even change their business model, because transformation means also change in business model. When this level of penetration becomes so big, so high, that enterprise change some model, some way of processing with customer, with market, and so on. So what the main barrier, that what a busy challenge is, of course, about people, about organization, because typically organizations should change structure. They should hire or prepare really very skilled people. They should communicate much faster with inside and outside of company. They should build really teamwork and so on. So all this, let's say, method or culture is well known in IT industry, for example, or even, I don't know, some creative industry, some service industry. But manufacturing, as I said, typically they are not so flexible, so open. For example, the famous slogan in IT, "Fail fast." It never works in industrial automation.
No.
You cannot allow yourself, and any end user can allow you to fail with their production, because it can be huge damages. So it's different. It's different approach. It's a risk consideration is always on the first place. That's why. It's how to provide, however, this change is the main question.
Okay, thanks. That is all that we have time for today. Thank you so much, Alex. I had a great time. I've learned a lot. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's a really big pleasure, and thank you for inviting me, and this opportunity to promote a bit our Ukrainian community and Ukraine.
Of course, you're welcome. For everyone watching, thank you for tuning in today. If you want, in 2 weeks we have another episode, and we'll be meeting with Anne Runnell from Estonia, who is active in the fashion industry, and she is trying to help with sorting waste materials at factories and reusing them. That will be in 2 weeks, so hope to see you then. Thank you so much, and till then, bye-bye.
Bye.